Call the meeting to order.
Hi.
All right, we'll begin today with the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll move on to adoption of the agenda.
If there's no changes,
Make a motion to adopt. Motion been seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. The agenda has been adopted. Now, up next, we have public comment.
We have two and put them.
Okay,
And then your time already.
okay, so Ian, Nick Ted. He's on Zoom.
He's on Zoom.
Okay.
Hi, Ian.
Hi. All right. So I'm writing this letter as a former employee. Being outside the system now, I see the routine absurdity I was faced to on a daily basis. Being married to a teacher, I'm aware how much these absurdities still exist. In all honesty, as a teacher, I worked for the students and families. I was hired by you, but I don't feel like I worked for you. I feel more like you depended on me. I did the best I could to provide my students, the best instruction I could. However, the system's broken and post-COVID models has changed the game for the workers. Since we returned to school, we've been asked to do more with less time, less money, and less respect. You didn't listen to that, Len, and you're still not listening now. Not listening or making changes makes you complicit in the outright forms of workplace abuse. The CDC stress at work study says how stress on the job leads to mood and sleep disturbances, upset stomach and headaches, disturbed relationships with family and friends. These were just some of the symptoms they found over a 20-year study. It was like reading into my past stress. To be honest, it was the main reason I resigned. I wanted to do my best for my students, but I couldn't due to the restraints and demands that were affecting my mood, my work life, and my family. Teachers accommodate you, but when they ask for help, you just throw it back at them, and that's some sort of form of gaslighting. You're superheroes. You're amazing. You can do this. You can stand up to this challenge. We believe in you. In the same study, it also stated that work-related stress can be disguised as challenges such as those that I just stated. Next, this brings me to the cost of living. Teachers are asking for a cost of living that represents the cost of living seen in the real world. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, over the past year, food has increased 9.2% and energy 6.9%. Those two alone add up to approximately 16. You're offering a 3% increase while giving yourselves a 4.5% increase last year and a 7.5% increase this year. Your offer is a slap in the face to these teachers you will call superheroes. In addition to not making their asked for a living wage, you offer retention bonuses, working without a contract, not providing a decent cost of living, being asked to do more with less, and then using a carrot on a stick is demeaning and completely disrespectful to the work they do, especially to the veteran teachers. Once again, this resembles a manipulative and abusive working environment. I'd like to close this out saying I wish I could have done more when I was a teacher to fight for my respect. However, I was either too tired from the immense workload, too busy trying to prepare a grade and provide the best instruction for my students, or I felt downright disrespected. I see many of these stressors and issues I discussed manifesting themselves in teachers I still talk to now, including my wife. It's almost a year since I resigned, and once in a while I still miss showing up for my students. What I absolutely do not miss is showing up for you, because I know if I was still there, I would show up supposedly for you, knowing that you would not show up for me. Thank you.
Here we have another public comment from Erika Ramos.
Buenas tardes. Estimado señor superintendente, asistente del superintendente y consejo directivo de Woodburn, nosotros los de abajo firmantes como representantes de la comunidad de padres que hablan español, ruso e inglés en Woodburn necesitamos una reunión para discutir la continuación y mejora del programa dual de inmersión bilingüe en los niveles de primaria, secundaria y preparatoria. Los puntos que deseamos discutir incluyen emplear y retener maestros bilingües para continuar con la instrucción en español y ruso de las principales materias de contenido de la escuela intermedia y secundaria. Retornar a la instrucción directa del idioma español en lectura y escritura en los niveles de cuarto y quinto grado para continuar con la biliteracidad de los estudiantes. Coordinación de los programas ruso-español en los niveles de primaria, secundaria y preparatoria para garantizar la trayectoria académica de los estudiantes del programa dual. Obtengan el sello de biliteracidad en ruso o español. Designación de un coordinador bilingüe en ruso e inglés para asegurar el desarrollo de materias e instrucción paralelos apropiados y de alta calidad en ruso en todos los niveles K12. Un plan para elevar el uso de los idiomas español y ruso para promover la equidad de idiomas dentro de las escuelas. Más números de asistentes que apoyen diariamente a los maestros con énfasis en el jardín de infantes. Capacitación adecuada a los maestros de inglés y español y ruso acerca de las estrategias de enseñanzas a los estudiantes bilingües. De esta manera, los estudiantes alcanzarán un alto nivel académico en todas las áreas. Limitar las clases a nivel primaria a menos de 20 estudiantes para poder diferenciar la instrucción. Mantener una comunicación directa y al día con los padres acerca de las trayectorias del programa dual en plan de asignación de idiomas que se ofrece en cada nivel de grado. Proporcionar el número adecuado de consejos que se dediquen exclusivamente al apoyo socioemocional de los estudiantes. No sustituir, enseñar clases especiales o cubrir clases para otros maestros. Proporcionar este número de terapistas de lenguaje, maestros de educación especial para que los estudiantes puedan recibir los servicios especificados en el plan individualizado. Mejorar la seguridad de los estudiantes en los pasillos y las instalaciones de las escuelas secundarias y preparatorias. Espero y puedan ver todas las firmas de nuestros padres y esperemos ser escuchados los padres y los maestros, que solo estamos queriendo algo mejor para nuestros hijos y para todos los estudiantes. Gracias.
Pase aquí, señora.
Up next, board reports.
I can start. I was present at the Latino caucus, for board members on Saturday 4th, discussing new elections and what it means to have people of color in the board. Also working with migrant program and talent groups. With leadership development.
I got to attend and support French Prairie Middle School, who
went to compete at regionals for the Oval Oregon Battle of the Books. They played well, especially the first round, but it was good to see at least, Jeremy, some of the neighboring schools here continue. And for the first time being at those, it definitely make it an intense environment where they state no babies and toddlers are allowed either for the distractions. Yes. Other than that, I filed and I'm planning on running again to maintain this position with the school board.
I fielded a question from a parent who had concerned about student safety in the classroom. And I encouraged her to reach out to the lowest level. Didn't want to say connect them with the superintendent or anything, but so progress it with the building principal and let me know how that conversation goes. I haven't heard back, so hopefully that's a good thing. And I attended, my daughter plays on the YMCA basketball league, Woodburn, Salem, Silverton, and Independence. There's like 10 teams in the league. Last week they playoff, they went to the championship, and it was very excited because we're following the bracket all season, and that there's 2 Woodburn teams, and both Woodburn teams were the only undefeated teams playing against Salem and Silverton and Independence. And so all year we hadn't played each other, but we're the only 2 undefeated teams in the league, and so both Woodburn teams were in finals, which was pretty cool. And it was intense. I think we got down to the last point, and it was really nice to see Woodburn represented. Pretty big.
I think for me, I follow the boys basketball teams, so they had a couple of state finals, and then I also attended the family events of us, which was a pretty big event. And I think when we speak of surveying and going to families, that's a perfect, not just there, but also Nelly and a few other elementary schools had events, so there were a lot of families and a lot of parents. And that was my experience, and also my question is why aren't we in those spaces during surveys or questioning and asking our families?
Me, other than parenting and potty training the last couple of weeks. Before then, I got an email from Oregon State University College of Engineering coordinator. They're putting on an expo and they'd like to have some of our students there. I need to follow up with our staff to extend the invitation and see how we can get students to attend. I also spoke to a parent about some concerns about their student, and just directed them to speak to the district office and get some support. So those are the items I have. All right, so next up is confirmation items.
Move to approve the confirmation items as presented.
So I have a question about the personnel. So I know that teachers are evaluated every year. Is that the same for the staff listed here? So even the directors were evaluated every year?
Yeah, we have a process that we use for our principals, and the directors, it's the same one. Yeah. Not the same as the teacher, but it's the same framework, but yeah.
The personnel and confirmation is the one sheet from HR. It has like the hiring and resignation, and then that what you're looking at is under new business, number 3. just to clarify. Yeah, so page
Page
5 is
yeah.
the personnel that you're approving right now.
Page 5 is the confirmation. And then
The confirmation items are up to page.
You know, to the surplus.
up to the surplus, which
Mhm.
is through page 7.
Okay,
Yeah, so 2 through 7.
I'll go ahead and second.
Second. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And something confirmed. Next is board action items, old business. And we have one item, recommendation to readopt the budget calendar for 2023-2024 budget as amended. Okay.
So we are bringing back, it's old business because you already approved it in July when we have to approve it. But we have a conflict with the first one that was already scheduled for May 16th, and that's the District Music Festival. And so we're asking the board to readopt this, and we're just shifting everything down into May and June, so that the board meeting or the budget committee meeting doesn't fall on the District Music Festival.
And we need to adopt the budget by before June 30.
June 30th. So I talked to Sarah before we did this, and because we have to have some notices in the paper, and it will still meet the timeline. So we're gonna be okay for that. You'll still adopt the budget at your last June board meeting.
On 27.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the only event that takes place that there was an interference with.
Yeah, but it's a huge event, and typically they do ask or invite the board members to come, and then same with the superintendent. So
They haven't done it in a few years, so they're bringing back the District Music Festival and
Mhm.
trying to get it going. So this is with all of the other events going on, everything else, that was their date.
yeah, they always pick that. Is it the third
Third
Tuesday? And I'll just kind of give you guys some background information, but we used to have our meetings on Thursdays, and so they picked that date because it didn't conflict with anything else. And so when I shared with them, like, we have a board meeting, they're like, can you ask to move the board meeting or the budget meeting? So here we are asking on behalf of the whole music department.
Is there a motion?
Well, the motion to adopt the new budget.
Can move. There a second? Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Alright. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion has passed. Okay, up next, you have new business. We have classified appreciation resolution number 23-001.
Right, so this is, we're continuing it into week 2, making it into 2 weeks of this, since our meeting fell on both sides of them. So this is a recognition of our classified staff. Who we did several things for at every building and whatever, but if you think about the kind of work that our classified staff do, from power washing the driveway to feeding the students and taking care of them when they get to school, helping them learn how to read, running the phones at the front, doing our data systems and everything else. They do an amazing amount of work for us. So we do appreciate our classified staff, and so we're making this into a 2-week thing. So we thought we'd bring forward the resolution for the board to celebrate them as well. So one of you, if you feel so moved, you may. If you'd like to read that into the record, it'd be great.
All right, I'll take it for everything. Whereas the education of youth is essential to the future of our community, state, country, and world, and whereas classified employees are the backbone of our public education system, and whereas classified employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and community members And whereas classified employees support the smooth operation of offices, the safety and maintenance of buildings and property, and the safe transportation, healthy nutrition, and direct instruction of students. And whereas our community depends upon and trusts classified employees to serve students. And whereas classified employees with their diverse talents and true dedication nurture students throughout their school years. Now therefore be it resolved that the Woodburn School District Board of Directors proclaims March 6th to March 10th, 2023 to be Classified Employee Appreciation Week. And be it further resolved that the Woodburn School District Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join in this observance, recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals.
Thanks.
Okay, up next,
Oh,
you
you
have to sign it.
You need to adopt it.
Okay,
You need a motion in a
is there a
second.
motion to adopt this resolution?
The mission, resolution number 23 dash. Classified appreciation with much. Subsidy. This year. From now on.
Second,
That's
and moved and seconded, any further discussion? No, all those in favor say aye.
I know.
Aye. Resolution has been. Done.
I started.
Mhm.
Oh, you're right.
Okay, so next item is. Budget committee vacancy for position 2.
Yes.
All
So
right.
I didn't get a chance to put this timeline in your packet, but I have it printed there for you. So position 2 term ended in June of 2022. And so tonight you will need to declare that vacancy. And then I provided there a sample or recommended timeline for you to fill that vacancy before that first May meeting. And so here's my recommendation for that timeline. So you would collect applications starting this week, March 16th until April 7th, and then you would have interviews April 11th during the work session, and then you can appoint that same evening, or you can appoint April 25th. I did reach out to Matt Lesh, who finished that term or that term. And he said he would have to check his calendar to see if he was available, but that he would be more than willing to allow another community member to serve. Has served for, I think, 2 or 3 terms. So he said he would be okay if someone else served. And then I included kind of the upcoming vacancies just so that you can see if you do get a lot of interest, that you will have more vacancies after June of this year.
Did this one run out last year or they just vacated?
It ran out. So June 2022 was his end of the term. So it's 3-year terms.
How does the interview work? Is that similar to the board vacancy?
Yeah, similar to the board, we could add, so the last so when the board filled these 3, there was an interview process. And so everybody interviewed and then they appointed. And then, Matt and John, because they had already been on the budget committee, you just appointed them. So the board, renewed their appointment. So you could do that too. Like if Matt wanted to continue and you didn't want to open it, then you could just appoint him to the position. And let's say you only get 1 applicant and you don't want to have an interview, that's okay too. And you can just appoint the person.
Sure.
And I'll make sure to include the new dates of the committee meetings in the application so that they know, the person knows that what they're committing to. And just even the upcoming vacancies, I'm not sure about Michael and Elena, but I know Pat has always expressed that if someone is out there willing to take that position, that she's more than happy to allow that. She's just always helped us when we have empty vacancies. She's always willing to serve, so you will have at least one more that would be open if you had a lot of interest in this coming round. So.
Motion?
And then I put a recommendation there, but I want to revise it. The recommendation would be to declare the budget committee vacancy for position 2 and adopt the timeline as follows, or as presented.
Right.
So
Moved and seconded, for further discussion. Any all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is passed.
Thank you. And I'll, once I open this up and will kind of blast it out there. As I'm getting them, I'll start sending them to you just so you have time to review them. That way you're not getting them all on the same day. So I'll start forwarding those to you as maybe every week or something, as we get them.
Okay, next we have a recommendation to approve the superintendent's recommendations for the renewal and non-renewal of probationary administrators, extension and non-extension of contract to contract administrators, extension of contract to contract teacher, and offer of employment renewal and non-renewal of contracts to other non-represented supervisors and coordinators as listed on the attached recommendation list and contracts.
Right, and there's one change from the electronic packet that was sent to you before. Pages 13 and 14 are now on separate pages. They were on the same page, so to keep them on the 2 different types, employee types. So that's the change, page 13 and 14 and of the paper packet you have in front of you. Other than that, there are no other changes.
What is each of these contracts more detailed?
The contracts that are included in there are the non-licensed staff. So when you look at the page that has employment status for contract administrators, those are the licensed staff. So the ones who are behind those are non-licensed or non-represented. So they have separate contracts.
for the motion, do you want, or consider them, or can I just go I move to approve the superintendent's recommendations as listed on the attached. recommendations.
So sad and so moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion has passed. Up next, we have future agenda items. Anything that we should consider discussing in the future?
The community engagement, what that was like. What that is. What it really is, and what it is.
I mean, sorry, you said what it is or what do we follow?
Right, if there's a model.
Oh, model, okay.
What is required?
I brought it up last time, but student representation on the board, for March and April, so we can get this in appointed. Hopefully before the end of the school year, we might get started July 1. And we board members.
Jenny,
Have that student voice.
do we have a student body at the high school?
I think so. Like
Like,
ASB.
We have students who represent,
The student voice group, but there's not a student.
We don't have the full ASB, right?
so I think that makes it hard because we want to appoint the student, but yet students don't have a body that represents them. To me, it doesn't make sense. You have somebody on the board and there's nobody at the high school who represents them.
But in the direction I quickly go, at the same time, we do appointments. You can have students come and talk about issues that they're passionate about or what's important to them. That's the process that all the district follows. Students come up and apply to be the student voice representative.
I know that may be what other school districts follow, but I'm speaking specifically to what our school is going through and where they are now. But I do hear what you're saying.
I don't know, but if there's a ASB process.
Well, generally for a board appointment, you set it up as you always do, which you put out an announcement, people can apply for it. And then you interview, go through a process and you decide if you're going to appoint. They're not normally the ASB, they can be, but they're not normally the ASB representation. There's a different.
Right, I guess what I'm trying to convey here is the ASC, from what I understand. They represent the student population, that, right?
They represent a process at the student, sure.
And so. Like we would appoint a student. Based on,
That's the point of bringing on board resolution to say. What does the process look like? Let's talk about getting a student voice on the board. I think the number one argument against having an ASB representative is generally an ASB president is quote unquote a popularity contest. So this would be better than that. I don't know if that's what you're wanting to see.
no, this is not about having an ASB representative here. What I'm saying is. Students at the high school, right now don't have their own peers representing them at the ASB level. Whether you want to call it popularity vote, I don't know. And so having somebody come here and interview, a student interview for a process to be on the board or be part of this. When clearly. How do we know what all is going on at the high school?
That's the point of having a student
Right,
voice on the board
right.
to hear what's going on.
And another thing with that is a big, clearly the politics behind that. I mean, just calling it out for what it is. Is having,
About getting a
again,
student voice on the board.
no, is having a student. And then again, people going out to recruit a student to come and be part of this process. And like mentioned before, we don't just want any type of voice, but we really want to know what's going on in us. And so really, from my perspective, to have a child be a part of this and be part of the political process, it didn't seem developmentally appropriate to me. I do see the intention behind that. I don't think that I necessarily agree with that part. I know, we used to have the student voice here before. I think it was nice, and it was something for the students to report us and to come in and be part of the discussion. To me, it was positive. And I think also having a high school voice as a part of this would be a good thing. As well.
Do you mean students or do you mean the administration or what do you mean by the student, the high school voice?
Getting input from the high school as to what they think. Having a student voice, but yet not having a body represent their students. I mean, to me, that doesn't make any sense. Well, maybe it does for everybody.
Would you like me to invite the high school administration for our next workshop? I guess that's for everybody to discuss that. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about it first and yeah.
I think it would be probably good to at least get that conversation going as to what leadership opportunities the students have and how they need to go around. You know. Down exercising or down practicing any of those involvements, leadership involvement questions, so. We can try to. Get something from, or build upon something that they might already have.
Is there a plan for ASB at the high school?
I don't know. I'd have to ask Wilson. You know, first year of the comprehensive and they've not had that before, so. Yeah, I wouldn't want to speak for her, but. We can bring her to our next workshop and talk about the leadership opportunities they have at the high school, and then you want to go further with, you know, appointing 1 to 3 students. Then we can talk about what that process looks like.
Summer's coming up and I think it's still work development. So I think that would be good to have that work development. Which would help us.
Do you have anything in mind for
So we have the, I don't know, we have a continuation with OSBA with what's her name?
Janet.
Janet.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's continuation with her.
I can ask.
Yeah, because we were going in a pathway, but then it got distracted with the evaluation and so on and so forth. So
Mhm.
She did mention she could come back and help the board with their board goals.
yeah,
So that would be the next for summer.
that was the, when we discussed having a 2-day retreat, right?
Mhm.
Any other thoughts on that one, board development?
I think that'd be a good way to start, especially since again, the elections coming up.
Yeah. could still be that same time frame. Summer with a full board. Alright. So there's 3. 4, 4. Yeah.
We will have one for April, one for May. And then. Another one for during the school year. Before they leave the school year. Or this don't have a, chronometer, but doesn't have the time, a time. These don't have a time, it can be just topics that we could
Yeah,
have
it's
eventually.
future, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this software can change that. And stuff. I know back in August, we talked about some sort of system. Boy,
That's okay for the
Yeah,
boardroom.
yeah.
We ordered it in August.
and it was like, it'll be here tomorrow,
Yeah,
but I don't see it.
there's still major pieces of it that we're just waiting for it to come in. So with all the shipping delays and all the things that have all happened, the primary piece that's not here is the one that's in the closet. That's the one that they call the matrix. Not my name. But it's the one that does the most of it. So we ordered those back in August.
So when do we project the next thing?
Well, we hope by this summer.
I think they said that one of that piece is June is the backward date that they have. So they have most of the things, but the most important things that what they don't have is what is back ordered. So,
So will that change the way we do Zoom?
no, you'll still do it this way.
Well, you will, but you'll actually have a built-in camera rather than
Mhm.
on the front of this one. So there'll
And
be a
then-
camera that's up here that then,
I was just thinking about just the audio.
Yeah.
I could listen to the recordings and
it'll be
So-
individually mic'd
Yes,
with the camera. Yeah, the audio is always the worst part, so.
yeah.
Yep.
We do have microphones, but we tried doing that with the microphones in this camera and the audio was worse. And so the microphones, they'll like go directly into the camera sound, or I don't know.
They use a pigtail, they call it. So they'll all go into one eventual box, but. Yeah, so we're still waiting on that, on basically the switching control or the matrix that's in the back. Which is why this one doesn't come on sometimes and those two do, but you have to do a trick on this one to make it work.
I'll add another one to the list. Related to dual language, the program we heard from the parents, it's a hot topic in the community. It's reflected all over our strategic plan. Being able to get I don't know if we did something like this earlier in the year, but some point to get a comprehensive assessment of the program. Maybe include the students' experience, parents and teachers. And just so that it's clear what it is, I know we got the policy at a board level, but I'm not sure that, again, the parents can read that and be like, well, yeah, I know what's happening. Or the teachers can see that and be like, okay, this is how we're gonna implement it. So I'm not sure if that's in the plans or it's something that can be worked on.
Well, our dual language advisory board did recommend that we have a study done. And so we're negotiating with the same group that's working with Beaverton to do theirs. That's the North, they're not called Northwest Regional Lab anymore. I'm not sure what they're called anymore. They've changed the name. Yeah, at Northwest, who's now been purchased by Pearson or by somebody, but
It'd be unfortunate if they were purchased by Pearson.
Right. I mean, kind of a wild deal. So we are actually looking at that, negotiating that contract. So we've gotten some stuff, we're whittling it down, but they actually do classroom visits as well. So they get the experience, they look at the things that we've been doing, results we've gotten, and then make some recommendations. But that was something that was requested by the dual language advisory board, which is made up primarily of staff, and you have a parent or two on there and a couple of administrators. So yeah, so that's been requested. That's actually in the works. And then that report would be something that we would present to you as well, so you know where we are. Yeah. Yeah, they do a good job.
You know the timeline thing?
I don't, but I can certainly ask Chrissy what we're looking at. I know we have not signed a contract yet because we're still trying to whittle down the price and exactly what the scope of it.
We're gonna be meeting, I gotta look back and check if it's the 15th or April 6th. So there will be a meeting coming up with them as well.
The Ed Northwest, you know?
No.
The
Dorn
advisory,
Ridge,
yeah.
You've been on that.
Yes, I missed this last meeting because I got double booked, with something else, but. Yeah, kind of going through and, it's a good mix, there's, once a couple parents and then teachers, various different staff, so it's been good hearing from them as well.
Yeah, I'm glad one of us got on there. I'm not really doing it, but that's good. All right, that's 5. Any others?
Along with like the community. Engagement strategy also, I don't know if that would be connected to technology. As far as the groups and sort of technology plan website. I know I visited some websites and it seems like they're still. Not all the center.
Are you talking about the school, individual school websites? I can have Rachel go through where we are, status on the school and district websites.
Yeah, who owns those? Is that each school take ownership of their own website?
Well, it's all through one specific system, and so Rachel here at the district office, she's in charge of, so she does the training with all the individual schools. Each school manages their own. As well, and same thing with each department, and so Rachel does the training for those and preps them.
With other methods utilized by schools, because some schools will, use more Facebook, for instance, and others will use much more remind notices, for example. How does each school?
Yeah, there are folks who are big champions of their own individual thing, and we've got multiple systems. So that's one of the conversations we're having around which one do we coalesce among one. The moving, we have this thing now, it's a brand called Final Site, but that's the one that is the websites themselves. And then you have Remind, which is one of the options to do a two-way communication with parents. There are things that we use under School Messenger. There's another one. Some things that happen through Power School, email. There's a bunch of other things. The issue is then everybody has a slightly different one, and so we're considering, do we go to a single platform? When you do that, people will get upset because they really like their thing. Like, this is the one we like to do, and so what we're trying to just figure out, is there a way that we can do, because we often want to be able to have a two-way communication, with our parents who want to be able to engage with either their teacher or with the school, get the announcements and things like that. We still also, some people still use Facebook, so we of course put it out to that, and same thing with Twitter, but and some of those are now, we're trying to connect those into the school websites as well. So if the school has a Facebook page, or if the school has an account, a Twitter account, or whatever it might be, that we connect those into. But and then it turns out that different people have the different passwords and logins, and who's to be in charge. And somebody set this up a long time ago, and now it's something else. So there's a lot of that work to do on the back end. But that is certainly a conversation we're having, because we have multiple communication systems. And then we use Flash Alert as an example for our weather things.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know, because I've noticed some of the people, they definitely use one platform maybe more than another, and so I'm thinking, especially since I know different people will like and want to stick with their own thing, maybe having one that is consistent throughout all the schools, and then from there you can add one or two other options if they're seeing that it's definitely working for their families.
Right. Yeah, it's a big lift when you move things, because we get used to, even if it's not very good, people still like to use it. So. And then having a two-way option also good. This is kind of the way that people work and communicate these days. Far more than just doing email. Yeah.
Alright. Last call on the future items. Okay. Up next is the board calendar. We have 2 meetings in April. On the 11th, we have a work session. And we have a regular meeting on the 25th. So we're gonna head into an executive session. Or is 192.660. To conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations. And item 2, or is 192.6602I to review and evaluate the employment related performance of the chief executive officer of any public body. A public officer, employee, or staff member who does not request an open hearing.